I had to put Through the Woods on this list of scary book recommendations because last year I made another list of scary comics to recommend to people, and after I put it up, someone commented, "I'm surprised you didn't include Through the Woods," and as soon as they said that, I slammed my head onto the table and wanted to scream because yeah, I'm shocked I didn't include it too. This is one of my favorite horror books of all time, and I totally forgot to include it. So, I would gladly talk about this book this year because it is just that darn good, but after last year's blunder, I feel like I really need to talk about it just to apologize. So, what is Through the Woods? It's an anthology of several short stories, all written and drawn by Emily Carroll, and this lady is talented, and probably a little disturbed because the stories told in this book are some of the most frightening I've ever read in a comic. The pacing of every single panel, of every line of dialogue, is designed to perfectly build tension. I went back and reread this to prepare for this video, and I had trouble getting to sleep that night. I'm not kidding you, that's how powerful this one is. This book is not for people who just want to start on horror series. This is for seasoned veterans who are like, nothing really scares me anymore. This one will do it. This book did for me as a grown adult what books like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark did for me as a kid. Remember Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark? With those really disturbing covers? Yeah, this is the grown adult version of that. I feel like I should have read this under the covers with a flashlight, except I was reading it on a Kindle, so the flashlight would have been kind of pointless. Each of these stories range in characters and settings, but they're all set around the 19th century, giving it an older Victorian era feel, which adds to the sense of isolation that is a driving factor in many of these stories, of not being able to seek help. In fact, this book hits the ground running, because in the first story, it's the tale of a young girl whose father goes off into the woods one day and doesn't return. One by one, her family splits apart as members go off looking for him because they'll starve to death in the cabin without his help. And she starts hearing stories of a man in a hat who took father away and then... Okay, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I started writing the script for this episode well into the evening, way past midnight, and I literally had to stop writing right there because thinking about this story was freaking me out too much. I swear to you that's true. My hands were shaking as I typed out that last sentence. This is how much this book will mess you up. But there are tons of other great stories in this, and again, I have to repeat myself, Emily Carroll is a master storyteller. She knows how to raise your goosebumps just in the first page of a story. There's one story, I will not spoil the ending of it, but it just begins with a man looking at another gentleman at the bar as everyone is coming around and laughing and applauding him, and he just looks at him and says, "That man is not my brother." That one sentence is all I needed to instantly be engaged in that story. As I said, I'm not going to spoil it for you, and I'm not going to talk that much more about this book simply because I don't want to risk spoiling any of the reveals or twists, because as they all develop, they're things that you have to experience for yourself. But I will say that the book ends with a simple take on Red Riding Hood. Nothing horrifying about that, right? Except for the last line of dialogue and the last image we see. It's of the wolf there in the darkness, and it all comes together to form one of the most memorable pages from a horror comic I've ever... Okay, that's it. I have to stop writing again. Freaking myself out too much. Alright, sorry folks, but we're cutting this episode here on account of me being a big scaredy baby. I have no shame about that. But if you want to see more videos where I'm not such a coward, then check back for more videos this week, all dedicated to my Thorgy-ween Spectacular. And remember, you can follow me on Twitter and Tumblr at Professor Thorgy, and give us a thumb up down below if you want to help support our channel. Thanks for watching everyone, and happy Halloween.